Call a meeting to order Monday, March 10th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Don't have any audience today. So we go to item 3, roll call, please.
Zagami,
Here.
Jordan,
Here.
Hubbard is excused, Bob Serrero,
Here.
Mumper.
Here.
So item 4, no public comment. Item 5, approval of 2/10/25 Public Work and Utility Committee meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Question? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Nobody on the Zoom, right?
Nobody, not other than staff.
Item 6, acknowledge February 2025 water and sewer permit.
Move to acknowledge. Second.
Discussion?
Is that all there is? Is there just one?
February was just one.
Wow, okay.
It's a short month.
I can't. I've never seen a list that short. I was like, there's one. Did they, no, okay.
And I think in general, people, they rush kind of at the end of the year so that then through winter, they can work on the interior finishes. And then as soon as kind of spring lets out here, we'll have a whole bunch of new ones. And I just accidentally closed out my Zoom meeting. Shoot. Sorry, give me a second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Staff reports, CIP update, Michael?
Yeah, I clicked the wrong button and back in the game. All right. So, I guess, if you go down Weston Ave, WPS is in the process of relocating, their overhead electric lines and doing some of, that, prep work. Frontier should be out there, later this week or next week as well, getting some of their utility conflicts out of the way. At least that's what we're told. We'll see what happens. And then, integrity is kind of, indicated starting whenever WPS gets done, which looks like probably mid to late April. So with that being the case, I was looking to probably have a pre-construction meeting with the residents. Probably, I'm looking at Wednesday, the 2nd of April. It'd just be a public information meeting again, kind of this is what's coming. So Public Works, you guys are invited, but it wouldn't be a regularly scheduled Public Works meeting. It's more or less just.
Still you can advertise.
Yeah, we'll send it out. We'll, we can post the meeting just saying there's potential quorum, but, yeah. Just be a update for the residents and what they should be expecting, this summer for those, directly impacted by the project. I guess, also the Birch Street project, I guess I can so the item number 10 on the agenda is the multi-use path lighting. We haven't gotten anything new back yet. Van Aert apparently is in the process of getting Rothschild, an option for a private, lighting system along there, so, they don't have that yet. Hopefully next month we'd have that for you.
Is it gonna be anything different than what you already selected?
So, well, we didn't select anything as far as lighting there goes. Kind of wanted to see what Van Aert would be able to maybe design for a lower level, just kind of ambient, whatever, path lighting, not so much the light up the roadway type lighting that WPS offers.
So it go about 15 feet, 10 feet high, something like that, 15 feet?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Tim has them looking at in that much detail.
If you go higher, it just increase the.
Yeah, I think it was a lower wattage, maybe a little more frequent. So,
Maybe you should design it as pedestrian walk to it, the light come up and stay on 10 minutes, then.
sure, some motion detection or something.
That
Yeah,
will save some electricity.
yeah, I can look at that. we did, I guess, East Jellinek, Von Kennel again, that needs to get cleaned up here once spring truly hits and, we know we're out of winter. Schofield Ave project did bid this morning. Haas Construction is the apparent low bidder at a cost of $6,248,725.75.
What was the estimate?
So it's a little higher than the estimate. I was around 5.9. Which for the most part, it came in down to, we added some sewer lining, which we did borrow for sewer lining this year. And then we also added valve replacements in a section of water main on Alderson Street. The valves were added after we had this valve just east of Camp Phillips leak on us this past winter. And as we were looking at other valves in that vintage, the Normandy to Alderson stretch was in that same era. So I guess I hedged on we should probably replace these now while we dig up the road versus leave those old valves in place and then, I don't know, next winter, 2-3 winters from now, all of a sudden we've got water main breaks underneath our brand new road. So we did add those in. I guess the board can always decide if they want to award those as part of the bid or if we would end up removing that, but
How old they are? 30 years?
yeah, so there's a vintage from like the mid to late 80s that seems to, for whatever reason, the bonnet bolts kind of rust out and then the valve just starts leaking, so. So as we,
So when we gonna see that?
so the actual bid tab will be on the board agenda next week. I just didn't have we opened the bids at 10 a.m. today, so I didn't have all the details for this meeting.
Did you say 642 or 624?
6248725.75. Nope.
My only question would be, why wouldn't you replace them?
Yeah, so initially we thought we were good because, water main should last,
Okay.
70 years.
Okay.
But then as we started, again, looking at the valve vintage, it was like, oh, we probably should take care of this. So the main is staying, but we'll replace the valves. So it seem to be the weak points that are leaking.
Is that the only spot in the village? Then are we kind of out of that vintage or is there other?
No, there's more. So even like today, Rothschild mentioned that they're looking at a project on military. So that's another spot where that era of valves exists. So
Do we have that? I don't know, what do you want to say, denoted or as such, so for future?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll make sure we take care of that and any project moving forward. If we're going to be replacing all the whole roadway, probably not going to bet on hoping that the valves aren't going to rust out. So
5.9 is your estimate?
That was
or the
mine.
Engineer estimate?
that was mine. The engineer is 5.6.
It was cheaper.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should take a look at that to see why is that different in there.
Yeah, the asphalt cost, interesting enough, it was higher than estimate and
Really?
like you looked at, I looked at the city of Wausau had bid a project in late February and asphalt was like $75 to $80 a ton. Then they bid a project in a week ago and it was about $80 a ton. And then ours came in at, I think it was like 90 a ton. So had we gotten the February pricing for asphalt, we'd be,
And go back and rebid it because
Yeah.
oil is down and it is not coming back. I mean,
Yeah.
barring there's some event in the world, I mean, we're
yeah,
repricing for sub 70 oil right now.
my only thought is that maybe it has something to do with the corridor itself on Schofield Ave. And if there's kind of an escalation that the asphalt paver put on that just due to the traffic and congestion of trying to get trucks to and from, along Schofield Ave, so.
Do we have any opportunity to ask them to rebid with lower asphalt prices?
We'd have to rebid the entire project. We couldn't just rebid the asphalt. So it's not necessarily always just the price of the material. It could just be the logistics of how are we getting our paver and all the trucks in here too. So
He's not bidding it to us, he's bidding it to the contractor.
Yeah,
Yeah, cause it seems like a lot higher cost than what,
It is significant, higher, 5.6 to, what, 6.2?
yeah, I mean, like I said, the water main,
6 million,
the-
600,000.
and like the water work was additional work to the project, so to be fair, that wasn't even necessarily included in the original estimate, that was, you know, about $250,000 of just added work. So if I take out the added work, we're actually pretty close. It was just, yeah, the valves, the water main. That was the other part. The water main through Alderson Street was discovered that was never replaced historically. Alderson Street got replaced up to Highway 29. And then that was original, and then the north side was replaced. So as we start checking through as-built, it became clear that section essentially through the Schofield Ave right-of-way was never touched, as historically as Highway 29, and I think the adage was, we're not gonna touch the highway, so. So truth be told, for the most part, it did come in as expected. It just, we had some additional items added, and I don't know. Trustee Zagami says I usually estimate high, and I was hoping I estimated high, but I guess,
One time.
yeah,
you always estimate high.
yeah,
No, I think you should let the contractor come higher than you are. Because contractor always take a pride, they're lower than the engineer cost.
yeah. But when we borrow money, I can't always be low.
You don't pay high interest rate either, so.
Yeah. So.
Other question? Other thing specifically you want to talk about that project? The bid?
No,
You
yeah,
haven't reviewed the bid, have you?
I haven't necessarily gone through it with a fine tooth comb. I mean,
Okay,
I put it out, I mean, we do online bid openings now, so I mean, it spits out an Excel spreadsheet with everything in it, so math errors are none, like it. The contractor has to type in their number and it calculates everything for you, so.
so who's the engineer gonna review that and make a comment about it?
Correct, yeah, Clark Dietz will make sure, you know, the bonding and, you know, everything else is taken care of, but. So, but Haas, you know, they had 2 projects for us last year, they do fine work,
No, it's good.
yeah,
That's not the question. The question is,
yep.
I think we should check that to make sure all the numbers are good and.
Yeah, no, yeah, and you know, the next low bidder was, I'm gonna say they're at like 6.3 something. Or maybe about $100,000 difference. And the highest one was about 7.1 million, so,
What was that?
Switlick was the high one,
Maybe it doesn't need it.
yeah. So,
Okay, other question?
Even the high is 10%. I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't strike me as odd at all,
no,
you know? Plus early in the process, how much work do they have versus how much are they, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Sometimes they come pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then, yeah, let's see, talk about the Ross Ave one in a little bit here, Fuller Street, I think we set our target as getting that out for bid by, what is it, next week, Wednesday? So, next month, we should have the Fuller Street project, to discuss those bid results.
When is the bid opening? You gotta schedule someone so he can come here before us, before we send it to the board.
Yeah, it's trying to get all those timelines figured out, but if we bid it, let's see, 19th, so 1, 2. I think we have the bid opening on the 9th, kind of tentatively scheduled, so we would have that for our meeting on the 14th of April.
So we see it before that.
Yeah, our goal is to always work that into the timeline, and then if there's an addendum or something else that we have to be, give a time extension for during bidding, we have that. So we had 3 amendments to the Schofield Ave bid. As we're working through that, so.
Okay.
Uh,
What else?
As far as the main items going on, those are probably the big ones. I guess the bike and ped master plan, we did have a meeting with the DOT and the team of HKGI and RA Smith, to get that, three-party agreement worked out. Otherwise, let's see, August Winter gave us an update too. The granular activated carbon tanks for the PFAS treatment are scheduled for a mid-May delivery, so, they should be able to get started on some piping and other prep work, later in March here and through April. So that when those tanks arrive, they can more or less get them installed right away, so.
Are they going to be installed outside? You build a building or what?
So they'll fit inside the existing building. So our treatment plant, when it was built in the mid-80s, was built for granular activated carbon tanks.
Right, yeah.
So we have the space, we just need the tanks and so it should be hopefully fairly quick. Once they arrive to get the necessary plumbing in place and should be up and running with well 4 and the PFAS treatment there. And then well 3, we met with AECOM last week Friday to go over some of the other remaining footprint, floor plan kind of items for that update to the treatment plant with the iron and manganese removal. So that's what I got.
Red,
That's it for me.
other question for Michael?
Do you have any idea what the iron and manganese removal is gonna cost?
Off the top of my head, no. I know we have a number though.
I think there's a couple of different methods, depend what they're using in there. Cost vary, but
Let's see here. Drinking water.
And if you don't, that's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, I know we had an estimate that we had to put in for the safe drinking water loan application. I've got to figure out which document that gets attached to. Yeah, I mean, the total project cost is a little over 3 million, but that includes the some building addition over there too.
what was that? I'm sorry.
The entire project is a little over 3 million, but that's not just the iron and manganese portion of it. That
PFOS is there too, right?
correct, yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't have that. If you're looking for just the specific iron manganese number, I don't have that.
Yeah, I was just curious if it had a sense.
Okay.
Okay. Street operation update?
Yes, we had about a couple weeks of thawing culverts, inlets throughout the village.
Where is that?
That's on Camp Phillips. That one is. Right by the Denyon Homes, Misty Pines, they had a driveway access that come off of Camp Phillips there, and that just one of the pictures of
Yeah, so like Shorey Ave is kind of,
the north.
yeah, out in the background there. So it's along the walking paths, heading south.
That was just one instance, so we had multiple ones, I would say probably had 12 culverts thawed throughout the whole village and inlets going in catch basin, curb and gutter areas. And we had the water main break assistance up on Alderson Street, couple excavators, hammer. Total of 5 street crew up there, and then one guy at Ryan Street breaking up material for backfill. Then We had snow removal on Camp Phillips as well, the walk by the walking trail. To exercise the snow blower on top on the front end loader. We didn't blow much snow this year with that, so gave us an opportunity to run fresh fuel and service the snow blower. Along with snow removal, we also did in cul-de-sacs. We had quite a buildup. So we had snow removal in there, also drainage with the melting and more storage if we were to get more snow. And then we continued with our right-of-way brushing with the excavators, which has a rotary cutter on it. Reaches where sometimes you can't walk, a little safer. Only takes one person to run it, to do the operation of the right-of-way mowing. Ideal for spots for deep ditches and or areas where there's no fences and stuff like that. But then where there is, we do our hand brushing along with there's fencing where the excavator cannot be used. And it takes up to 3 to 4 people as well to do the hand brushing. And then at Ryan Street, we just have an ongoing organizational thing with our inlets, manholes, and stockpile, just trying to get everything back in order and cleaned up out there. That's it.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Question?
You guys been doing the work out on the Eau Claire River Trail?
The Parks Department.
Parks is doing
Yes.
that.
All right, thank you. Utility operation update?
Yeah, we had just a couple kind of miscellaneous well maintenance items there. With some of the cold weather, our guys used that to do some organization. They got, like Michael touched on, we're gonna be having our permanent PFAS treatment system, so they did some organizing over at the treatment plant. Installed a new large meter, 3-inch meter over at Stillwater Landing. Forrest touched on, we had a main break on Alderson. Which you can see some of the photos that I included in my report. The guys got through most of I think we got through all of our meter change outs. Correct, Stacy? I think that was our last one, was the Astio, right? Okay. We changed out all our DNR compliance larger meters for this year. Did some organizing within the municipal center here as well for some of our parts. Assisted on some of the ongoing subdivision projects and road projects going on. Completed our first round of our unregulated contaminant monitoring Rule 5 sample collection that was done earlier part of February. Continued with our EPA PFAS collections, but that'll probably come to an end this month, hopefully, if well for construction starts or the treatment plant construction starts. On sanitary side, a couple of miscellaneous items, some PLC troubleshooting, replacing some batteries at a lift station. Collected and cleaned the pH probe data that we have. It sounds like a couple of them might have be down for the count now, so I need to get on ordering a few more of those so we can continue our monitoring of our pH. The guys are continuing to work on our new televising van preparation. I believe we need to send it back down so they can put some components together themselves at, who are we sending that to? It's not Aries. Envirotech, yes. Performed some general generator maintenance at the lift stations, cleaned and replaced some of the filters that we do monthly. SCADA work continues. I think we're getting pretty close to bringing them back in here so we can kind of have a final once over of it to make sure our guys are seeing everything we want to see and everything kind of looks and feels the way we want it to feel. It's communicating. There's just some oddities with some of the alarming we're getting and some that we're not getting. So I think we want to make sure we can sit down and make sure we're getting back whatever we want and that the guys are getting informed when they need to be informed of, any kind of, alarms that are going off. Continue with diggers tickets are starting to pick up
Josh?
now.
What kind of a contract we have with them? Is that lump sum or T&M?
I don't know what we have with
It's
PJT.
per site.
Yeah, it's per site that we have.
So it's a lump sum per site.
It's a lump sum per site, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
So work orders continuing to creep up again. Some of our contract work. Mentioned some of the road projects. We included another one of our lateral inspections we did this past month. Our water main flushing should begin hopefully end of next month. We'll be getting out our flushing letter. And we'll be starting to do some valve exercising in preparation for that as well. Sanitary sewer jetting, hope to start a little bit earlier this year as well. I guess beyond that, I guess there's some photos here I included for our lateral inspection. Other than that, we got our customers added, our water pumpage for the last handful of months, our wastewater flows and lift station hours. I did include, not my best work yet, I guess, but these graphs for some of the contaminants we have at each of the wells. I don't know if you guys have any immediate questions. I want to clean up a lot of it. It just doesn't look like I want it to look yet. But it was hard kind of deciding how we wanted to look at it. So we decided to just pull each contaminant that we monitor for out of our raw samples and put it per well. I'd like to go back in history. I got to dig through some of Keith's files. I'm sure we have more historical sample data that we can put on this to kind of see where our trends are going. I think it's a good exercise. I think I want to maybe include some of our DNR compliance ones as well. That data is, I mean, that goes back very far. So I'd like to improve and probably beef up even more of this stuff. I think it's good to kind of visually see where some of the stuff, but some of this where we don't have, at least I couldn't find some readily available. I mean, it goes back, quite a ways, but I think we're missing some good data points to kind of give us a better trend line on some of this stuff, so.
Yeah, I think you combined with historical data
Yeah,
and the standard parameter.
so and there's a couple more things we'd like to put on there, maybe some of the, the MCLs for, when you're above the levels of when. So a lot of this stuff is the secondary standards as well, like manganese, it's a secondary standard for the Safe Drinking Water Act. So there's really no regulation that it has to meet. It's more of the aesthetic. It might look a certain way. It might taste a certain way. It might smell a certain way. But we have data, so we might as well see it. And then, it's for future use. Then once we get our iron manganese removal systems, we can see what the effect that really has on our water quality. So, and I like to have these raw numbers also maybe overlaid with, some of our post-treatment samples throughout the distribution system. I just don't know exactly what that might look like yet, so.
Anything else?
Not for me, unless you guys have some questions or.
I guess just one thing there, so like Mesker well is off right now, and you'll see it on the iron chart,
Yes.
like it was kind of the primary well we had running at the time that had noticeable levels of iron in it, and similarly manganese, there's, I guess that well and the Bladel well kind of fought for the main system. The orange line is our Cary well, so on the island system over there by I guess Cary Foods, or formerly Foremost. So as far as our main system goes, I mean, that's where, we talk about the Bladel well or the Mesker well. Those were, for whatever reason, kind of the two dirtier wells when it comes to iron and manganese. So Mesker will get treated with this current effort, and then Bladel and Alta Verde is this other line here. we'll have that queued up for next in line, so.
Question?
So that's just bad luck. This is where you drill the well with the iron content then, correct?
Yeah, Sternberg and Mesker are maybe half a mile apart. And one is essentially non-detect and the other one was, 1.8 milligrams per liter. So
Are you pumping the same amount from each of them?
they historically did, yeah.
Same amount?
Yeah.
These wells, they are 90 feet, 100 feet deep. That's where the rock is.
Yep.
And if you look at the water in there, you see it how it is.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned well two and how it's kind of an island. I've always been curious about that, how that, I mean, obviously I know it all used to be a township and whatever, but how does that well, I guess how much of that area does it serve? And is it connected to the rest of our system?
No, it has two customers on it, which is Cary and the Ribbon Mountain Sewerage District, right? Or,
Mountain Metropolitan Sewerage District.
yeah, so it has a line that goes across the river to the wastewater treatment plant there, and then it feeds the Cary industrial building there.
So the rest of the Cedar Creek area is on
Is
Rothschild.
Rothschild's water, yeah. We have an interconnect with them, so if we have to take our well offline, they can get fed from the Rothschild system. But yeah, historically, that was the Weston system until I think the 1992 annexation. So then Weston sold or gave, I guess I don't remember how that all went. The rest of that distribution system, but retained the Cary system because the village owns the lot that Cary is on. So otherwise, that probably wouldn't even exist. And as far as Weston's concerned, it would be Rothschild's.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Policy discussion and recommendation, item 10, Weston Avenue, Alderston Street to Birch Street, multi-use path lighting. Michael.
Yeah, so I didn't have anything to attach on that one because there's nothing new, so I guess I'll bring that back when I have something new to share.
Okay. Item 11, Ross Avenue, Metro throughout to Alderston Street, project update, draft recommendation exhibits.
Yeah, so last meeting I went through the roundabout exhibits and it showed kind of that worst case scenario or the biggest truck that Merrill Steel said that they kind of desired to have the ability to get through. And I think that kind of confused I guess some people maybe on what a normal semi would look like coming through the roundabout. So this is I guess the typical size truck that you'd see kind of going through there. So zoom in here a little bit. So the green line is kind of the furthest extents outside of what the wheel paths would be. The blue kind of turquoise, whatever line, aqua, is the kind of center of the cab as it's turning around. So for the most part, so on this westbound to southbound at Metro, that truck would come through. The cab itself would stay on the normal pavement, and then the trailer would track over the truck apron and make its way south, then on Metro. And similarly at Alderston Street. Oh boy, that wasn't supposed to have all those layers on.
So the upper part of it doesn't take any traffic?
No, it does. I was just trying to show what that.
It doesn't show anything. Right?
I didn't have those layers turned on. I was trying to show just what that turn looked like, because the right turn, it stayed on, it stays on. It can go up and turn left and it looks pretty similar to this. I was trying to make it so you could visualize what the one turn looks like. instead of having all the lines on it and getting,
Most difficult one.
yeah. So just trying to show that that typical truck as it comes through it, it'll turn on it just like I guess it's making a left turn. So on Metro, I tried to keep it, I can probably turn on the other layers unless I. Yeah. Oh, boy.
That line is that the center of the truck turning?
So
What is
the
that line showing?
blue is the center of the cab. So like the front of the truck kind of follows this blue line as it comes around. So the cab, the chassis of the truck will always, shows that it's always on the regular pavement. It's in between the curb. And then just the trailer portion here is what would track over that, kind of the concrete middle of that, of the roundabout. And then this would still be, anticipated to be a raised, curb with maybe some vegetation or other, decorative feature. I guess I had the impression at the last meeting that there was a desire to see what that looked like so that
Yeah,
it was understood that,
because I thought he's gonna have problem on that upper, because it's pretty sharp comparing with the two side of it.
sure. Alderson here, I think I need to,
The circular one look better.
yeah.
Although I think with the other one, it push a truck outside farther out. And the round one. The circular one.
Yeah, so on this one, they didn't put the blue line on for whatever reason, but the green still stays in between the curves, so that southbound to eastbound turn stays in there.
It's a black line for some reason, I don't know why it's not.
Oh, the black line here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a black one.
And about how many trucks does Merle?
So that extreme size, they said, could be once a month or it kind of depends on what projects they have going. So, and again, with those loads, they're on a convoy with, police officers or, patrol.
Escorted.
Escort, because they are oversized no matter what. So when they have to turn into opposing traffic or the wrong way, it's not just at
So-
this intersection, it's at almost every
So
intersection.
a
they go
normal
through.
semi is gonna make this turn,
Correct.
no problem.
Yep.
So you're only dealing with a minimal truck traffic on an escorted load with, they got the car out front with the lights and the whole deal going, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, yeah, I'm not, if they can make it, that's good enough.
Did they state that they would go early in the morning usually?
Well, they do now, yeah, just,
You have to travel only in daylight, you're restricted on, that's another thing, I mean, it's not like you're making this turn when it's dark, because
Yeah.
you can't.
yep. Yeah, and then this one is so this one's blue and green.
Yeah, I think as long as the truck can make it.
Yep, so those trucks would make it like they do in a normal roundabout.
This is not gonna happen that often, and they stay out of, they don't want a lot of traffic to deal with either.
Yep. That's it, yeah, just showing that, I just wanted to show that the normal semi would be able to maneuver this just as they would, I guess, currently. And then we'll be, I guess, getting in contact with the property owners on the Alderson side and starting to work through that process. So that's kind of the next step here, and then also putting these 2-line 2D lines into 3D and making sure we got grading and all the other effects taken care of.
We don't have to do anything on this, do we?
You just asked for an
No, it was
acknowledgement.
just really acknowledging, I guess.
All right. For item 12. Schofield Avenue, Normandy Street, to Birch Street. Preliminary special assessment resolution.
So for 12 and 13 here, just kind of per the village's special assessment ordinance, we assess 100% of drive approach costs to the adjacent property owner for reconstruction projects based on square footage. So the resolutions in the packet essentially approve, or I guess you guys and the board giving me the direction to put that report together and begin the assessment process, so.
I think we should go back to item 11. And I'll accept the motion on that to acknowledge. That's
I'll move to acknowledge the preliminary layout for the roundabout.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Is there anything else, Michael, you want to add?
No, yeah, next month then I'll have the I guess preliminary report put together, and we'll be looking at having that special assessment meeting.
I think at this point, you're just asking for approval of that resolution.
Correct, yeah, the resolution is the official document that then says I need to prepare the report.
Your wishes.
I move to recommend the village board approve resolution 2025-003.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. So that cover item 13 also, or
If you want to just recommend that specific resolution for Fuller Street then.
This is exactly the same.
It's the same wording.
Just a different street, right?
Yeah.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve resolution 2025-004.
Second.
four folders?
I'm sorry?
Add the folder street to it.
Yep, yeah, so that's this one.
Yeah, that's this one, but
It's a different number.
it's a different number. This is 4, the first one was 3.
Is there a second?
I seconded.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 14, 2025 salvage base course crashing contract.
Yep. So once we have enough, I guess, salvaged asphalt, concrete, we put it out for bids. This year we had 4 contractors bid on it. The low bidder was King Gravel at a price of $3.94 per ton. Ike and Forest measured the pile. We have roughly 19,000 tons, so should be about $74,860 based on that estimate. We use this material then on our public works projects. Generally, it's a decent savings. Like I said here, last time we bought gravel was a couple years ago, and that was a little over $7 a ton. So we're getting this material for just under $4 a ton.
So you verify the quantity later on again, or
So as they crush, they have a
scale?
scale, so it gets weighed, but.
Right.
Yep.
All right, what's your wishes?
I'll move to award the 2025 recycled asphalt crushing project to King Gravel for a unit price of $394 per ton for an estimated project total of $74,860.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 15, 2025 street maintenance plan update.
So like I says, spring got here and we started building out our calendar for our street crew for the year. I guess we had one small concern with being able to commit to rebuilding Shirley Ave this year as part of the street maintenance effort. So I guess we're looking at making that one change and in lieu of kind of rebuilding Shirley and having it paved, we would add in a overlay on Gene Ellen and then Sternberg Ave between Scott and Mesker, and then that has some storm sewer work that would go with it to take care of I guess a lot of ponding water currently on that curve as you come east on Sternberg towards Mesker Street. I drive by it right now, there's a lot of standing water on the sides of the road that historically has been an issue. So in lieu of Shirley, we would take care of that one and then put Shirley on the list for next year. Otherwise, the rest of the plan is the same as what we had last fall when we went over it. And I guess as long as costs are holding true, we should be pretty much right on target with about $6,000 in contingency. So
This estimate or cost you have in here is similar to Schofield Avenue?
so these ones are based on our maintenance costs, so generally it doesn't vary as much, although last year our overlays came in way under budget. Which again, I don't know how to, so this one, hopefully the overlays would still be lower with asphalt prices in general. I guess I'm still banking on the fact that Schofield Ave prices there was due more to some of the traffic and constraints of paving on that project versus a residential street. But yeah, we kind of use a rolling average of the cost of overlays or the gilsonite, and I generally add a small increase each year just to account for any inflation that might be added on. And then if we do end up with it coming in less, like it did in 2024, we then came back and added more streets. So
Well, you had 10 cents here. It was 288, you changed it to 95, 295. Oh, that's a mile.
yeah, so that's the mileage. Yep. Yeah, so we actually get a few, 0.07 more miles of pavement treated by swapping out Shirley for
But you just got a lump sum for the cost.
yeah, those are all based on a per square yard price for overlays or gilsonite treatment.
These are all what, thickness?
Uh,
Thickness,
Yeah, so and
3 inches?
the overlay is generally about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches.
So you laid over existing.
Correct, yep.
Okay. Other question for Michael?
What are the other treatments, Michael, besides gilsonite, as far as a coating?
So we used to chip seal our streets, and then I don't know, was that 3 or 4 years ago, we started seeing mass failure of our chip seal streets, which was kind of hard to stomach because you chip sealed roads that weren't that bad, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 years later they were bad. So in essence, we kind of stopped chip sealing until the manufacturers can figure out what caused that kind of on a lot of those, it seemed like the asphalt layer underneath the chip seal is just starting to disintegrate. So I don't know if there was some chemical reaction that almost just made it no longer bond in the asphalt layer, but you know, you could take your finger and just start kind of picking at it like it was a.
Yeah, so and then chip sealer, comparative price to gilsonite, do you have, I mean, how?
Yeah, gilsonite's cheaper. Chip seal usually was about $2 a square yard. So the gilsonite's about $1 a square yard. So that's more of that kind of just spray on asphalt rejuvenator, kind of like a driveway sealant.
Yeah. I'm familiar with gilsonite and it was, one of the products that we sold at Weston Supply that was 3 or 4 times more than the typical asphalt type of sealer. And what I liked about the gilsonite is it did actually penetrate as opposed to just laying on top.
Yeah.
And, so I'm glad to see that you guys are considering that.
Yeah, we've been using that now for probably 5 or 6 years. Some of these streets are getting their second treatment with gilsonite, and I think it is showing that those streets are holding up. I think better than traditionally.
Okay.
Was there a product recall or any kind of?
No, there is studies done by the Minnesota DOT, I think the Iowa DOT, I think reached out to the University of Wisconsin, and nobody really had a good answer. And
It failed miserably on County Highway D and from going from Highway 51 over to Lake Tomahawk. I mean, I can't believe how bad it looks after just one season. So there's something wrong in the way that it doesn't stick, so to speak.
Who makes the product?
I mean, we would have Farner and Scott Construction historically were the 2 chip seal contractors, but I'm guessing they're using the same oil suppliers and.
I mean, is it like some large company makes that product, or does everybody just mix their own and?
It has to meet a certain ASTM standard for the petroleum product that's used, so I don't know if there was a change in asphalt pavement at, you know, in a certain era that all of a sudden changed. I feel like there's a chemistry thing going on, and I'm not sure what whose product did what.
You're just saying historically they used to use this chips and it worked fine.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden it didn't work fine.
yeah, and then I think they tried to make it so it set quicker, and you know, and then I think that
People complain about driving on it.
and people did complain about driving on it.
Yeah, so the idea was to try and get it to become tacky or to get to cure out. And I think that they monkeyed around with that formula, trying to figure out a way to, and in the process did something to the way that it bonds.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been a class action lawsuit as of yet.
No, and it's weird too, like some streets are still fine, like we chip sealed them and they're okay, and other ones kind of just had mass failure on it. So I don't know if it was weather conditions on a certain day, you know, air moisture or so we kind of just, I've stayed away from that until we figure out what's going on there.
That's good. It just
Yeah.
seems like somebody should be on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Accept the motion?
I'll move to endorse the 2025 street maintenance plan as presented.
No second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 16, street-wide, village-wide street lighting update.
Yeah, so been asked to bring the kind of a map, so hopefully. So all these red dots are a street light in the village of Weston. Some are village owned, some are WPS owned lights. But then I included our street lighting policy that we use when subdivisions go in, you know, so essentially a light at each intersection. And then if there's a large deflection in the street, or greater than 15 degrees, we'd require a light, and then also about essentially every 1/10 of a mile, and then at the end of cul-de-sacs. So I think overall, it looks like we have pretty decent coverage. There's probably a couple intersections you can kind of note that we don't have anything, but that's kind of where we've played it ear, you know, kind of by ear, as residents request an additional street light, or maybe there wasn't one in the past. We, you know, that's where we've added them over the last few years. I did notice it looks like there's 2 lights here that are in the village of Rothschild, so follow up with WPS on those. You know, in some of our more rural neighborhoods, I know they tend to not want streetlights.
Yeah, who sent the note?
What was it?
You said somebody sent the note, they said they like the black sky.
Yeah, when we put in the lift station at Trotzer, it initially had well, it has a light outside of it, and we installed it as a regular street light. We ended up putting a switch on it because the 3 houses right there all were, they didn't want that there. They enjoyed the night light. They, you know, they said they live there because they enjoy being able to see the sky. So we put the light on a switch, so if we need it, we can use it, but otherwise it's off out there.
I think Ross Avenue need more light. And I don't know how they come out with 10th of the mile, 528 feet.
Yeah, so, and that's just in general. I mean, if there's more,
Yeah, that's not much. When you put the light post 30 feet high, the radius of illumination is probably 75 feet or 100 feet.
yeah, and those aren't necessarily meant to be a fully lit corridor. I mean, if you look, you know, we have those on, you know, Schofield Ave where they're tightly spaced, or around the hospital, Barbican Community Center Drive. And then even out in the business park, those lights are closer, where those are more of a through corridor lighting, whereas like you mentioned, Ross Ave is kind of is more of that space lighting at intersections with maybe 1 or 2 mid-block lights. So you know, it's kind of just this steady progression of, oops, that one. Kind of through the corridor on Ross. So, I mean, if there are other areas that we need to go through, or you guys would like to see more lights on, we can definitely.
So what does those circles represent?
So that's a
Is that
light.
illumination area?
No, it's just the light. It's not the actual illumination area. We just got the GIS data point, so it's a point showing that's where a light exists.
So on Ross Avenue never was lit previously,
No, it's never been a,
other than near the hospital there,
yeah.
or not Ross Avenue, Weston Avenue, rather. Where you're doing all of we're improving the road, and that's where the concern for having light for the bike path is? Is that's
To the
what's
west
driving
of
that?
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I guess we can look at adding more lights on Ross if that's a desire, or at least getting some estimates for that.
Should take a look at it. So Weston Avenue, we didn't put any light except at the intersection, not even at the intersection.
Weston Ave, correct, yeah, Weston Ave right now is,
No light at all.
there's really no lights out there. We can, I was gonna add one at Ryan Street, because that one's really dark. So But otherwise, yeah, there's Weston Ave is lit right at X, but otherwise, yeah, nothing else until you get out to the business park area down here. So Zinzer probably should have one. Ryan Street should have one at the very least. And if we,
How is Fuller? Fuller is good.
Fuller's that traditional kind of, each intersection has a light.
I wish
Oh,
there was
okay,
more
Rich.
industrial, but that's just because I'm a scaredy cat.
Is it
Between
good
Fuller-
what we got?
Or if you guys want to look at this and we can start, highlighting areas that we think we need more.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost like to ask Michael to come back to the next meeting with some proposed lighting that it may be in a different color, like in a yellow or something
Sure.
against the red that we have right now, and then that would be my thought, then we could discuss it and.
So is there a requirement to do something on?
There's no requirement. This is just, it's up to our discretion. I mean, some communities have a lot of lights and like, I know in Cronewetter, they have pretty minimal lighting. So it's really up to us if we want to add lights. So that policy was created, I don't know, whatever year that was. Essentially just to have some guidance so that we were treating subdivisions and requests. I think initially it was created in 2000 and we updated in 2020. But it was really just so that every developer was being treated the same. Every request from a resident was kind of being treated the same.
Have we ever reached out to poll the residents to see if there's a needed area where they feel that we should have it? Or where we don't need it,
Yeah.
like the residents over by Trotzer?
Like I've had people ask why we light up Community Center Drive so much since the businesses or things haven't really come in there.
Yeah.
As much. There's kind of that gap between the memory care building and the clinic where there's not much, but it's heavily lit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's one where
Really soon.
I don't know if it's more of a hassle to try to remove those from the
Yeah.
system or. Yeah. I mean, Barbican maybe, like this west side of Annabelle Court, there's nothing there, but at the same time, it also makes it so it's not a hideout for bad things to happen either.
It's a good weekly newsletter question.
Yeah, where do we need more light?
Yeah.
Looks like there might be one up on Wall Street. Would that be?
That'd be a Rothschild one that, yeah, I noticed there's a few dots here that shouldn't be on a Weston map. Yeah, this guy here and then these two over at Volkman and Weston Ave. So thought we got those.
Is there a number? Do we have a number associated with the dots? On a total? Just curious.
We do in our database. I don't have that number
Okay.
right now.
I'm trivia question.
Yeah. It makes an interesting fact for the week.
Yeah. So,
And now I know who reads the newsletter, so thank you.
so I'm hearing Ross Ave, maybe we should potentially look at.
All right. Is that a motion you made?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to defer till Michael can bring back next month where he feels it might be necessary to, or it might be not necessary, but appropriate to add some lighting.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you. Item 17. Consolidation of Ryan Street Yard Material Site with the Village of Rothschild. Who's leading this?
So the Village of Rothschild did ask if there would be a potential for us to combine our yard waste sites. They do have potential interest in their location off of Alderson that they use for community yard waste. We would have capacity at our site and we would charge them on an annual basis. We've done some very preliminary math, but it would likely be someplace between $2 and $3 per resident per capita. That would be billed to them annually for them to use the yard waste site. And in turn, on the big time frames when we have a lot of collection coming in, they would also lend us some staff to help the movement of materials around at the site. So avoids confusion for residents who may already be using the yard waste site, consolidates it to one site, and helps to offset some costs for what happens at that site.
We sell that material, don't we? Every year.
Sometimes, yeah.
Are they excluded from that?
No, I would think if there would be some available compost material, then they could also participate in.
You're saying if we sell it, would they get a
My
cut of
point
it?
is-
Yeah.
My point is, as I read through this, I said, wait, we sell this stuff when we're done. Are they in on the proceeds from or is that just ours to keep? Or do we need to consider that before it gets raised later?
Yeah, I guess we'd have to figure out how we accommodate that.
I don't know how you'd really keep track of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be this side of impossible, and I don't know that I would want them to, but.
We'd have to just essentially probably determine there's a percentage, right? Like 90% Weston, 10% Rothschild or something, and
Yeah.
And of course, once you sign an agreement, it's the agreement. I mean,
Yep.
You know, but
The largest piece would be when they do their pickup, when they do their collection, because they, I'm sure, would have to track that for their own records. But yeah, you'd have no way of knowing your onesie twosies of residents that came in.
So have you, so how do you determine how much Rothschild is doing on an annual basis where you can say that you have plenty of space? I mean, just looking at the size of the,
yeah, so every year, well, at least for us, we keep track of how much material we handle, because it's part of our recycling grant that we submit back to the state for the reuse of the material. So Rothschild gave us the number that they collect.
okay.
So just looking at that, we would have room to accommodate their yardage of compost.
They only do one collection, they only do a fall collection. So that's the numbers we have. Then again, the resident that's cleaning up their yard and that we wouldn't have any way to track, but
Yeah.
again, that's a much smaller number than ours, 5,000, 5,600 people. And do all of them utilize the site? Probably not.
Right.
and they're not gonna get any bigger, so.
Yeah, they're pretty much landlocked, so
I mean,
yeah.
it's not like we have to worry about accommodating any future growth.
I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why they would like to utilize this land for other purposes.
I think we should ask the resident in that street, see if they agree with that, because what we're doing here, increasing the traffic, increase the noise, air pollution. And that gentleman has $1 million plus house building in there. I think these people, we should ask them, hold a public hearing and ask them if they're interested. Or they have anything to say.
I don't disagree, but we're also investing $16 million in making all of the, not all of the future growth, but a big portion of the future growth off Weston Avenue, which likely would utilize Ryan Street and the other cross-section streets in that area.
Yeah, but Ryan Street get specific traffic, people come with a trailer, they all have brush or so forth, so on. And certain time of year, the traffic is significantly higher, people stay in the line practically to back up. I think Western Avenue is different than this product, what it is the waste And I think we should give them opportunity to this. Then they won't come back here to sit down and complain to us. Say, you didn't even give us a chance to talk about it. So,
Then I think it's only fair to reach out to all the residents along Rhine. Not,
I wasn't saying 1%.
yeah,
I said everybody in that street.
yeah.
Yes. But that's me, that's my opinion.
Well, coming from Rothschild, there'd be no reason that they'd be on Ryan Street north of 29. Where most of the residences are. I don't think there's any residents.
No, they'd all be coming
That's
down
ones.
either just straight on Shorey and then coming up Ryan or, yeah, Weston Ave.
Yeah, so is there a yard waste site on Alderson currently?
Well, that's where they, residents in Rothschild drop off, or by St. Mark's Church right now.
Oh, okay.
But they're all there, this,
And then Rothschild processes it as it off of Alderson.
Oh, okay.
so they would, my understanding is still have some off the Leon, right?
Yeah.
That they would still have some of their public works items there, and then this would be the Alderson Street site. But they wouldn't have any residential drop off at either location going forward. They would refer all residents to Ryan Street.
I mean, they do currently man their sites, so it's not open like ours is, so. We may already be getting some of those weekend trips from.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
We even get people from Wausau coming,
Yeah.
nobody's banning it, so,
Yeah, I know,
but
we've tracked down a couple residents at times that aren't from Weston, who had some, you know, pretty large dump trailers and definitely weren't just doing residential cleanup work, but and they all, not all, but some of them we were traced back to Rothschild, so.
Yeah, we went through that enforcement for
Yeah.
a while. I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, to a certain extent, it almost helps if we,
you said word got out and suddenly, you know,
even people from Schofield, they come.
yeah.
It was the same thing over there, Western landfill. Even when we decided we're gonna close it, Mayor Camp could sit down and said at the meeting, say you can't close it. And the chairman said, you can't even talk here, you don't belong here. You got nothing to say. That was it. But the town hall was packed with the people and they're standing in the hallway.
Jimmy, what is the total revenue estimate for this? In other words, just if we reach an agreement with them, like what about how many dollars is that?
We're estimating, and again, that it would be subject to having a further conversation with them, but someplace between.
About
11
12,000 a year.
Yeah.
12,000 a year?
Yeah,
Okay. Is it worth this for 12,000 a year?
No,
That's my only, I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying, because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, I don't know what the population is of Rothschild, but I know it's not very much, so I was going if it's a, you know.
It's about 5,600.
yeah.
you know, there's sayings that not in my backyard. Don't bring your West to my backyard, take it wherever you're going before.
And they're looking to redevelop that site and do something else with it.
Well, that's what they do to their side. Maybe we
No,
should
no.
do the same way. That's a nice piece of property.
Mhm. Mhm.
Would you like me to ask to join yours? I mean, that would be, I think ours gets quite a bit of use, and it's also where we do site storage of materials too.
My only thought was, if they've got some economic opportunity, they might be willing to go for more than 10 or 12 grand a year. I don't know. You know, what are they gonna get in property tax once they relieve themselves of not getting anything?
I mean, you'd have to look at what their cost of doing business for that operation is.
Yeah. And that's, again, I tracked our costs for the year, divided out by our number of residents. and then multiplied that by their population. That's where I got to about the $12,000 number.
Between $2 to $3 a person.
Yeah, like 240 or something like that a person.
I think they'd pay more.
That's kind of where I'm at too, right? I think that, it might be up for paying a little more than that.
Yeah. My thought, unofficial comment is, I think if it's something we're gonna pursue. And again, I'm with you, I'm not sure that it's, but my first thought was, I'm not sure if this number is worth pursuing, and then my thought was, if you are gonna pursue it, I think I would try to make it worth Weston's while, you know? Cause I mean, I just think about it as a taxpayer, if it's $2.40 a year, like that's that's as close to zero, they won't even, like, I don't know what, you know, 1/100% or a tenth, I mean, it's, you know, right, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about, you know, a $4,000 tax bill and $2. $2.40, I mean, you know, it's not much. And it frees them up entirely, and they're also landlocked, right? I mean, they don't have a lot to negotiate off of, unless somebody else, Cronin Water or somebody else wants them. You know? Yeah, I guess that would be my thought is. If it's something that,
So what is, you know, so they do actually have somebody at their site?
Yeah, so they have limited hours for drop off, and, you know, so they have somebody that checks to make sure you do live in Rothschild and that you're not disposing of things you're not supposed to be disposing of.
So you suppose that's somebody that they just hire on a part-time basis, or is it actually a Rothschild?
I think it might just be a part-time person. I'm not,
what hours do they do? Do they do this chat, or what hours are they open right now?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm real curious, because if the answer is they're open Monday through Friday from whatever to whatever,
Yeah.
then you know we're getting all of it.
Yeah.
Cause when do you do it? I've been over ours dump many times. I can tell you exactly what days I do it on, Saturday and Sunday. Those are the only 2 days, cause that's when you're out doing all your lawn work, right? And all your yard work and creating all that stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you couldn't run over on a weeknight, but I'll bet 90% of, you know, are Saturday and Sundays, and if they're not open then, I bet we get it all already.
Well, you know, I'm just thinking about what the cost is to them to monitor that site.
Well,
You know, so if it's I mean, if it was a village employee, the cost to do that would be more than $12,000 a year, I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah.
According to their website, it says compost site is open 24/7, but is closed for the winter.
Oh.
That's what I see too.
Okay,
So they changed that at one point.
okay. But if you're right, Joe, you're right, that's a great point. If they staff it, there's your 12 grand alone, right? What are you getting for 12 grand in labor?
Cause look, I see another one from years ago that talks about the hours, so maybe they changed it.
Yeah, they might have recently changed it then, because I know they used to have it manned, so you,
Which is, I know how Cronin Waters used to be as well.
yeah.
You give a piece of property to them for zero cost. They turn around and sold it to a premium price.
I think it's worthwhile, like, having the conversation and entertaining it and seeing what can be worked out, because anything we can do to work closer together, you know, I'm certain that there's gonna be points in the future where we need their help with something and we try to work together, but obviously we do have to have the Weston taxpayers at the top of our mind, and if it comes down that it's not really worth it, then
Yeah, I'm with you. Anytime you can consolidate the service, it's certainly worth looking at, but it has to be equitable, you know, as far as cost sharing, or the fact that we're gonna take on that liability forever. And I mean, it's not really a liability until somebody does something stupid, you know, and you end up getting sued for whatever reason. But, so I agree. I think it's definitely worthwhile pursuing, but, would have to be at some rate more than that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, that was kind of our cost, so
Yeah.
maybe it should be a little more than just at cost.
The intention was never that we would lose money though, or that we wouldn't
Yeah,
be covering our costs.
well, sure.
And that was never, I also wanna make sure, that was never asked from Rothschild either. They,
And then what do you do in the future, right? Because you're not gonna, you're gonna renegotiate it every X many years or.
we said we would build an escalator into the
An
agreement,
escalator,
and then
okay.
I would assume we revisit it after a certain time frame.
Anything else?
Want a motion on that?
There is one.
There's no motion in there, is there?
Yes,
Yeah,
there
there
is.
is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're
I-
right.
I move to have staff continue to work with the Village of Rothschild on an agreement for the shared use of the yard materials site located at 8200 Ryan Street and discuss reimbursement of any attorney expenses related to development and review.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Ask for more money.
Noted.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No. Unless we hold a public hearing.
Have the note.
I'm sorry?
Trustee Zagami.
You gotta know.
Oh, sorry.
Future item. Next meeting Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 6 P.M.
So that'll be the Weston Ave Public Information Meeting for the 2025 work. And then I guess I just
That was to be arranged, huh?
yeah, so that one, I'd be looking to have on the second, so again, that'd just be a public information meeting, not necessarily an official Public Works Committee meeting. And, I threw in two to be determined for the Schofield Ave and Fuller Street Special Assessment hearings, so. I'll try to work those in around, if there's any days in April that the committee is not available, I guess let me know. Cause those ones would have to be, held by the Public Works Committee.
Would you send us a date?
I'll send out an email and just see if there are, if anybody's gonna be gone for a week or, there's certain days that you can't make it.
See, Monday, April 14, 2025. At 4:30 PM, that's a regular meeting, and D is to be determined.
Yep.
We do for that one, Fuller Street also, right?
Yeah, so like I said, I put those in there just to note that we'll likely need at least one, or maybe we can fit both those meetings on the same night and just stagger the times, but we'll see. Like both of them maybe need their own.
E, Monday, May 12, 2025, 4:30 PM, that's a regular meeting. Item 19, future topic. So you have the lighting
Yep.
and also the waste area.
So what about an update on, the property acquisition to finish that part of Weston Avenue?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, do you know it yet, or, I mean, otherwise I'm just looking to let us know when you do figure something
yeah,
out.
hopefully next meeting, it's all done, but I met with, several property owners last week, a little follow-up this week, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Oh, good, good job.
Just bring us update next meeting. Remark from the staff? Isaac? Josh?
Nothing.
Forrest?
I'm good.
Michael?
I talked enough.
Remark from committee members?
So I appreciate your thought that, we should have a public hearing when we get to that point, and it's good for you to remind us of that, but you know, once they get a little further down the road, I don't like getting much input until we really have figured out, do we really want to do this or not? But I'm on board with you that if we get to that point, we definitely need to have some kind of a public hearing.
Because they're gonna be impacted.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Yep.
And we don't have any announcement. Accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Thank you for coming to the meeting.